reading of our wonderful marathon in Brooklyn, an industry city of New York School Symposium. Let's give it up for Rona and everybody that organized it. Thank you. Woo! I do want to thank Rona for having me read in Paris at the New York School Network Studies, and the tape of me reading my Frank O'Hara piece that cracked me up as I was reading it is online under the New York, I'm making an advertisement, shameless self-promotion. The Network for New York School Studies website has it on there. So y'all watch me on YouTube. But I love that I get to introduce Patricia Spears Jones, who is right here, and she is the new New York State Poet Laureate. Let's give it up for Patricia. She joins luminaries like, our beloved John Ashbery, Robert Creeley, Audre Lorde, all those good people, Yusef Komunyakaa, Willie Perdomo just stepped down, and Patricia is the new one. And one thing I love about her, there are many, many things. She has a lot of great books, and she curated programs at the Poetry Project, but she's from the South. I think somebody should do a certain panel about all the Southern poets that have joined the New York School, right? Who else is it besides a lot of them? Richard Hale, you and me. But anyway, let's see. Let me find my right place here. So, sorry. She's lived in New York City since the 70s, where she was a key figure in the city's literary and theater scenes. She's also a playwright and cultural commentator, and she has devoted much of her time mentoring new generations of poets while teaching at colleges, libraries, and community organizations. She's the author of 5 collections, like The Beloved Community, which we all are, and also A Lucent Fire, new and selected poems, Painkiller, Femme du Monde, and The Weather That Kills. Her work has been featured in notable anthologies like The Best American Poetry 2023 and African American Poetry 250 Years of Struggle and Song. And she did tell me that she had a recent mishap with a reading she was supposed to read at Bates College last week, and they said this week the killer was on the loose and she could not read. But we have her here with us tonight. Please welcome Patricia.
I may need some help with I'm the world's. I used to be taller, like about 2 inches, but I can stand. All right, yeah, this has got to be one of the funniest, well, not that funny for the people of Lewiston, Maine, but it was for me. So I have been on the road literally since mid-September, and I've been to Albany because they, gave me the laureate thing, and Governor Hochul was not there, thank goodness. So there's no picture of me and her. Anyway, and then I had to go to my 50th college reunion in Memphis. That was fun. And then to Tempe, Arizona, which is very hot and very dry and very pretty. And then I was supposed to go to Lewiston, Maine, my last reading in October. And literally at 9:45 on Wednesday night, after I had started packing and called the lovely people at Arecibo and say, pick me up at 6 a.m. for the 8 o'clock flight, right? I get a text from Myron Hanley saying, your event is postponed because there is a killer on the loose. And I went, what the? And I called him, and indeed, there was a man running around Lewiston shooting people and killing them. And the whole city was in lockdown. And I was like, after I started, then I said, I think we're all in a Joyce Carol Oates short story where crazy people have taken over America and they're taking us away. So I am very glad that I have here today to tell you this story. I emailed the shipment agency to tell them that they had to postpone this. They said, "You're the first client that's ever happened." And I said, "I hope that I'm the last. That's the first and the last time that happens." But you know, folks. So I'm going to start with a poem that is dedicated to Anselm Berrigan. The 5th of July, 2020. Work like miasma, fount of boundless energy, unlifted. The weekly cross carrying, candles out, more tomorrow. What of it? When will it be? Rockets, candles, fire, fire, candles, rockets, miasmic, beat, 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 the beat, 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 sky, lashed clouds, watery rage ready for release, rain, thunder, lightning, summer's heartless mares, roaring skies. Oh, say how we be. Oh, say what we be. Oh, say, can we be? Oh, say, can we be free? I just found out that Poets.org put together a whole bunch of poems they call protest poems, and they put this one in. And I'm so happy for it because, well, it was about Mugabe leaving Zimbabwe, but I really wanted it to be about Trump. Alas, he hasn't left yet. I want him to go. Okay. Defiant. Fruit from one vine tangles with another. Can you hear me? Is there an echo? All right. I just want to make sure, because, you know, I'm feeling very rock starry right now. Anyway, all right. Defiant. Fruit from one vine tangles with another, making a mess of the intended harvest, yet the lack of calculation is welcome. The accident that shifts bodies from shadows into a locus of light, midday, bright and caustic, wounds unhealed, newsreel cameras trap this old and angry man in a bespoke suit, lifting white papers and refusing to read them, mumbles unwelcome threats and thanks the nation. The nation kicks him out. Finally defiant, after years of misrule, disruption, murder, and the choked voice youth terrorized. He wants more blood on his hands so that when he enters his version of paradise, all will be red. So glad. All right, I'm just reading poems that are like to poets. And this one is for Mina Alexander. And also the last image is something that I actually did see when I was in France. The poem found itself at sea. Poet forages another poet's vocabulary. Her words might prise open poet's mind. Locked chambers reveal the posture of jellyfish. Oh, this search for a key to closed chambers. Ah, wavy words ripple and undulate, one poet's gift to the other. The rigidity of imagery laps against a body's shore. We are living lakes, sloshing against other bodies. Pardon, we say, as spilling over, chemo. It is the word chemo, the poet marks. A boundary too often crossed, a procession of cells mutating, an attempted murder of mutating cells, the loss of parts beautiful, hair, eyebrows, the keepsake of an almost intact body. That perfume of noxious sweats, charts waves of tears or cells, hearts, muscle loss. The poem is at sea. Observe, distant from the harbor, its journey toward massive cliffs, far from this ravenous seagull eviscerating a pigeon on red rooftop, an ascent toward abrasive beauty. I saw a lot of strange things in France. All right. Hannah's cigar box. And since this is about the New York School, nobody mentioned Hannah Weiner. All right. Okay, all right. Well, I wasn't there for it. So now I'm mentioning it again. All right. Hannah's cigar box, memory and invention. You meet a woman who says, I see words on her forehead, and she designs brassieres. Why not? This is New York City, East 3rd Street, and other poets are sifting something and chatting, and the woman who sees words on her forehead has a generous laughter and kind manner. And why not see words on foreheads, or arms, or trees, or the backs of scratchy jackets of hustling bums, all begging and laughing and drinking, and if not in the flop houses, then in the men's shelter across the street, where daycare children tell me the drunks are old and the younger ones addicts. Already they understand the distinctions and the dangers. It's an East Village world, and buildings are creaky and shaky with age and sadness. Many poets, mad and hungry, roam about at 3 a.m. on their way to Dave's Corner or some other dive, or if lucky, a bustling Cantonese restaurant where the words are visible as race walking and foreheads covered in curl bangs or scarves, and the green tea's sharp smokiness tosses mist and burrows dreams in liquid notions of ways to puzzle M. Duchamp's urinal or J. Cornell's cosmic boxes. Whole systems jeweled and shiny, encased and displayed so that movie stars can see within them and find directions to Venus or Saturn or restlessly return to Earth. East Village, New York City, and myriad cosmic stencil cigar boxes. I actually saw Mr. Green, Eddie Albert, at the Joseph Cornell exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art. It was so cool. I started to sing Green Acres. No, that's sorry. But it was kind of cool, though. Okay. All right. Ann Boyer makes a new word. Bell hole, beautiful hole, sophisticated slit. Thus, slut and words of ill effect on females. A trail of blasted curses leads ever onto that valley of preposterous anecdotes. You know, the one about, and then the other one, and the one that won her that prize, a husband. No, the house. Bellhole. Artifice pulsates the poet, singer swifts busy flying tree to tree while their banner of shit swoops down the hole in the roof. Dumbass song, oh, house collecting somebody's debt, wet, with memories and a tornado of ideas, blow the damn hole. Reinvent the sweet scent of early puberty when lampposts threaten to descend upon shouting men, humoring their hormones, but getting not one glimpse or a touch of the poet's perfected new word, bell hole. Beautiful hole. Cracked earth, shuffling roots and roofs, Los Angeles in its own topographical feast day, as the virgin girls screaming in crumbling buildings, what night is this? Whose feast is worthy of this temper, these cries, this claim of gestures, bell hole, beautiful hole, sophisticated slit? And a couple more. So on Wednesday last week, I had the great pleasure of doing my book launch, and Janice Lowe put this particular poem to a fabulous new song. Self-portrait as retratos de cosas locas y de locos, stolen. Shall we have cocktails while slipping about the edge of catastrophe? Gin and tonic for summer, whiskey sour for fall. All is not well yet. Sun illumines green leaf trees, soon bare, soon bare. Our eyes prowl fence edges for morning glory vines. Our ears gallop from the booming bass of pumped up cars. Our legs move swiftly as a catamaran in dock. We mock the heavens with calls for paradise now. Artists perambulating the shadow alleys of downtown Manhattan. Memories of dream dulled in punk and rock clubs, filthy bathrooms. How much of what was is still now in the body, in the bones of the body. Calcium loss, teeth loose, wrists smaller so all bracelets jangle. Lips call repeatedly a song whose words are traces of tenderness, yet sung too softly as if only whispers could make the world hear. And then I'm going to finish with with a poem for Steve Cannon. Actually, it really is a dream or possibly a visitation from Steve Cannon. And I've read this a few times, but, well, it's always good to bring up Steve, isn't it? And also in this poem is the late, great artist Sandra Payne. We are walking on Avenue A on the Tompkins Square Park side. And Eleanor says the union labor movement started in Tompkins Square. So I kind of like that. You did, you said that. She did, okay. I didn't make that up. And I gotta say this. I wanna thank the previous readers and the readers before. You guys were all great. But Bob Rosenthal, who I've been listening to since like 1974, literally, that was heartbreaking and beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay. All right. Walking on Avenue A on the Tompkins Square Park side. We are walking, Sandra Payne and me, on an unpeopled Avenue A. It is dark, but too dark, and even in the daytime, it's dark on Avenue A. We walk on the sidewalk on the Tompkins Square Park side. No dogs. We see Steve Cannon driving a sedan. I know, nobody's, okay. That's why you know it's a dream. Okay. Steve is probably going, okay. We see Steve Cannon driving a sedan. He rolls down his window. Want to ride? Sandra waves no, but I say, hey, he may be going farther. So we go over to where he is parking his car. It's 7th Street. He parallel parks on Avenue A and 7th Street, so the garage man can check his car. This is the unblind Steve, the unglasses Steve. His eyes bright brown, but what is strange is his hair. He has too much straight hair. It's a wig, a sort of bad Beatles cut with bangs. Steve Cannon with bangs? He's smiling, but the hair. It's post-chemo wig hair. It's the worst haircut you've ever had and must cover it up wig hair. Steve had that New Orleans mess with me hair. The wig is a rebuke of all that New Orleans flair. Steve smiles, patient with the garage man. His ride is a Volvo. It's roomy and safe, and he salutes Sandra and me, and we salute him back. Thank you.
I love that Hannah Weiner poem. Thank you. That was all great. Thank you so much, Patricia. Next, we have our last reader, Anselm Berrigan, and he told me to tell y'all he has a book coming out next year that we all can identify with the title of Don't Forget to Love Me. Is that right? I hope I got it right. But I was trying to figure out, there's so many, things to say about Anselm, but one of the things I've always been curious about, maybe he can tell me when he comes up here, is his Twitter handle is Whiston Doll, and I guess that's Whiston like Auden, like W.H. Auden, Whiston, and Doll I can't figure out, but I think that it might be that doll that Frank O'Hara hates playing with in Autobiographia Literaria. I don't know, but anyway, I guess we'll find out soon. He's the author of over 8 books of poetry and numerous chapbooks. Some of the notable great ones are like Dramatic Life, Zero Star Hotel, Free Cell, Pregrets, Degrets. He did a great reading last year with at the Resnick Pasloff Foundation that can be found on the web. I would recommend seeing that amazing reading. And of course, with his mother, Alice Notley, and his brother, Edmund Berrigan, he co-edited that great collected poems of Ted Berrigan and the collected prose. But there's so much we could say about Anselm. It's all eminently Googleable, but I'm looking forward to hearing the poems. Welcome, Anselm.
Shit. I am incompetent. No, that's great. Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for staying, if you've stayed. So, I was born in Chicago, Illinois, which is where many people met my parents, our parents, Eddie, Bob and Shelley, and there's this whole wave of people who went from Chicago to New York, and I don't remember a whole lot about Chicago. We had a cat named Milky. I don't remember that cat. Then Shelley babysat for me. I also remember I remember you giving our mom massages on the floor in St. Mark's Place after our dad died. And that's a non sequitur even to me, actually. I have to think about this for a second. No, okay, so we lived in we lived in Waveland Avenue, but then we moved to New York, and we were in 101 St. Mark's Place. And there were a lot of mice. There were a lot of creatures. There were a lot of roaches. I met somebody recently the other day who was like, and we were talking, and I was like, yeah, we had a ton of roaches growing up. And they were like, yeah, do you ever see a white one? I was like, yeah. And, but then we had mice, so we got another cat, and the cat was named Godfrey. Is John still here? He came over once when I was a kid. He said, I need to see this cat to make sure there's no resemblance. And then we lost Godfrey because we couldn't afford to get them fixed, so then we would just sort of like just let Godfrey out and come back pregnant, and that happened a couple times. That was weird. Then Godfrey disappeared, and then we had a cat named Whiston. Oh no, but first we had a cat named Doll. which we were given by this Portuguese family that had a corner store on 9th Street and 1st Avenue. And their sons, Michael and Johnny, were me and Eddie's friends. And the dad was sick and had a colostomy bag, and the cat kept scratching at it, so then they gave us the cat. The most beautiful cat in the world, Doll. And then after Doll, we got a kitten. Well, first we got a cat named George that Mark Hilleringhouse brought us. But George jumped out the window into the air shaft, survived, jumping 4 stories, got taken back to the house in New Jersey where there were 25 cats. Turned out George was female and got renamed Georgette. And then we were brought Whiston. And then Whiston lived for a long time. So Whiston Doll is those 2 cats. Okay, thank you. Good night. Yeah, Whiston moved to Paris, put on a beret and a striped shirt, and smoked long cigarettes, and was buried in Père Lachaise. This is a poem by John Keane from his book Punk's New and Selected Poems. It's called 10 Things I Do Every Day, after Ted Berrigan. Floss my throat, wash my feet and glower, kiss Curtis at 7:30 to shake him, feed Kitty philosophical tenders, stroll the valley of dearth to Journal Square, keep the faith like a Benedictine under the Hudson, word like a yo-yo, nap like bear, address endless emails to forgotten writers, jack the meter to stand tall, drink lust as if it were spring water, walk through the muse when the coast is near, leave my friends in shadows, generous margins for error. (9/27/01). Maybe the baby just came with everything in it. Surgeons using chopsticks smoking weed out of the baby's head. Good God. Everyone's the bad guy. But I don't think shame fits in John Saw Taylor Mead tonight. We started it all, the wasps, and I'm a wasp, so I can say that. Let's all get to the ranch. Anti-preening poem. Similarities try me. Seeing things as they are is something I've been trying to get past in private. In public, one is fucked fluidly without kindness for similarity's sake. I enjoy affection minus correspondence, mainly because you know something about me already most of the time. But this lets me say things. Fate doesn't have a flag to fly like a fist at the first glimpse of widespread coexistence. Selected poses. The dreams aren't coming. Moral flatness doctors extra lines under eyes, bubbling and tried. To be hate, a just reenactment of history, shitting on the present cult of power, who got game, a mic in every face, publicly owned, and it ain't them to blame. 110% left all off the field, poets piss on service lists, Daisy cuts a react, but I stank of a dwindling number sent for weeks on the way to work, splat, and so what to who in any state? Let NYC secede if you want blood so bad. Post-dramatic tress drones, misshapen liberal kitty extras, nasty impersonal mind. a big fucking crater downtown. And I am inhaling corpse dust at 3:22 p.m. on West Broadway in the cotton candy morning, suckered into anesthetic outrage to crash into a next poem. Drugged and hooded into a prose poem. I've always been angry at prose poems. This is picking on a form. Drugged and hooded into a prose poem. It's all Larry Fagan's fault. Every moment came with this fill-in-the-blank quality until someone died. Once that happened, it happened repeatedly and could have induced a maniacal love of power if I thought it wrong. Cartoons puking black and white on French cable recognized children as barely past 200 years old in the American instance. Can't shut them up long enough to examine their own scars. Were they dosed in the womb? Was I? The ancient dilemma. But we've advanced a desire of only killing weapon wielders, right? And all the land. So I thought, jamming into a commuter box with breathing holes, leaving the state this morning on my way to teach poems by terrorists to young men and women in New Jersey. I wrote all those poems 22 years ago. These are more recent. Around the empire. I'd like to go somewhere I don't speak the language and have a mic stuck in my face in front of 50,000 people and get asked how I did what I just did and how I feel about what I just did. Well, it's just a surreal experience. God gave me the strength to rock hard. The various strangers I didn't meet totally believed in me. I knew to say I can't speak the language in the language and studied hand gestures from there. The end of every street was a dead end from a distance. I'd get to the corner and suddenly new streets would appear. How many times do you have to turn the key all the way around and in what direction? 45 minutes later, entry. And the water damage on the ceiling did a dandy jig as we passed out in ambivalent relief. The main thing I learned, other than to avoid transactions with dudes in Santa Cruz jerseys parched on their way to Budapest, and don't travel with soon-to-be exes who need to tell you repeatedly after months apart how much they've changed while you haven't, to them, is that armadillos and spider monkeys can be friends if the armadillo doesn't mind also repeatedly being thrown into the northern sea. Confessional shit. I don't write confessional poetry because I have no interest in confessing things. I would write poems in which other people confess things, but only if I can make it all up. If I was serious about this, I'd edit and publish a magazine as a vehicle for these confessions. It would be called Caveman. Susie Timmons would have an advice column called Ask Frau Schmegma. I'd be 9 years old, watching TV with commercials, pretending I didn't actually know what these people were talking about. Sorry, everybody else. Okay, this is called Fake Assassinated. Fake Assassinated. Line like this recalls us to surface. Swallowed by the compositional machine, drenched in civic sweat. Dude across the bench says he's a math person who wasn't taught right. Okay. It was weird to be fake assassinated by a poet at a place called Bard. It was fake theater and fake poetry and fake puppetry and fake video game satire and nothing. Death was nowhere and nowhere, and the toy rifle shot fast. Maybe that's what the goose thinks being petted and stuffed at the same slime. I was accused in a letter, disfigured as an email, of conspiring with trans painters to create a new symbolism. Really? At least grant me the fake desire to reinvent cubism or photorealism or some other movement from the actual fucking Paleolithic century I was supposedly born during. The unknown is not scary, Mr. Stranger. Imagine testing truths while pretending getting a master's degree is the equivalent of Guernica, or being registered in the pose of ordinary agony. Dog, dog, dog. Why? It was amazing to see so many people fail to even give the shrug. But that's cool. The story is so modular and bonkers it sounds fake itself on any kind of repeat. In my autobiography, which I will never write, this will all be outsourced as blame to deep imagism's stylized and resonant tribe of cloned rabbits. You can look it up, as old Case used to supposedly say. I have to do at least 5 more things to this poem. Got stymied today when asked if I felt 100%. 100% of what? Who cares that it makes breezes? This table turns out to be reserved for an event. I should have quit and left after the fake shooting happened, but I had to introduce the next poet. Talk about being overly professional. You can run in circles as mode of performance disguised as resistance, or you can join the track team. I wonder, Brad, how Jerome Sala would finish this poem. Would he admit to having been co-captain of the track team in high school and then co-chair of a so-called discipline at graduate art school? Unlike everyone the world claims to be exposing us to, I think the future is terrific. Just please put everything in the wrong order. Some ones were sitting here, and one of the ones showed a poem on the phone to the other one, and I only know this because the other one said, I like the rhythm of the first stanza, but I don't like the second stanza. And so sitting here rereading a chapter on Pablo Picasso never got called an asshole's Guernica, I decided to finally write underneath the title, Fake Assassinated. Fuck periods at the ends of lines. No one noticed. That's cooted Grebe. I told myself I'd only go back to the Bard place for $50,000 and an apology. Turns out $5,000 and help was enough. Please kill me again. Love, Anselm. This poem is called Kit Fisto. My agent told me I should just read this 30 times tonight. So I don't have an agent. It's like and won't ever. Kit Fisto. Sly, smiling, tentacle-headed Jedi. Never really got to say anything. Dude was green. Highly skilled. Came from a planet named Glee Anselm. I love Kit Fisto. I hate it when he dies. He goes out like a chump. You don't think that's funny? It's not even a laugh. Well, like, what the fuck, man? No, actually, I wrote that poem and I was going to end it. I hate it when he dies. And then Eddie came over and I said, hey, you remember Kit Fisto? And he said, oh yeah, that like green tentacle-headed Jedi dude. Yeah, I said, yeah, that's him. He said, yeah, he went out like a chump. Then I read him the poem and he said, you need to put he went out like a chump as the last line. So if you don't like that poem, it's Eddie's fault. Network of gazes. I picked up some sertraline today. I tell my shrink it's working. Do I seem less depressed to you? The baby aspirin helps with blood thinning, but there's so much pollen permanently in the air, all I have to do is think about raising a finger and my nose bleeds like that volcano the volcano lovers loved so much they died on film being with it. Did you know the reader is always wrong? All I want is to be unseen. Love's a little much to ask for. An ass is a terrible descriptor. I'm a grown-ass man. That might be okay for Ben Jonson, but Shakespeare has to be getting stabbed repeatedly, in death, anytime anyone says grown-ass man. Why do you have to do that to him? I wonder if Douglas still thinks Shakespeare was a bad writer. He told Amiri Baraka and Lorenzo Thomas that at the same time in Orono. Or no, he told Amiri Billy Shakes sucked, and Amiri waved over Lorenzo and said, listen to this guy, he says Shakespeare's no good. Can't call anyone if no one's there. Doug says Keats sucks too. He wrote this poem about me. No private Wi-Fi for June. I'm telling everyone on the street what you did. You might think that's a lot different from saying perhaps we ought to feel or squeal with more imagination. You'd be wrong. Orcas biting propellers. They're getting to a version of the source. They're saying, fuck it. Let's make the boats not be able to move. They don't want to really eat us. Why? Because we probably taste terrible. Do you think the person next to you, any somewhere, might actually taste good? Especially if eaten raw? With all that nasty decay and medication and fucked up fake animal hormones in them? Maybe the salt water helps. But still, don't fuck with us, with your propellers and your non-life and your pretend interpretations. That's not hard to understand. Stop. Stop worshiping harm. And these poems are embarrassing. I'm going to go hide for the next 5 years. Poem for Ed. I ran into Noel at the Horseshoe Bar in 2007, or maybe it was 2008. Sylvie was in the world. Noel was secretly in town for a job interview. We talked about baby's sleeping habits, comparing notes. He said Urson, the person, always slept with them and still did and was totally independent. I said we had Sylvie sleeping in her own room after a few weeks. He said, we disagree. I said, no, we don't. He said, you disagree that we disagree? I said, didn't know we were having a debate. Actually, I didn't say that. I just stared at him thinking I hadn't agreed to be in a conversation that required agreement or disagreement. Then I remembered the time Noel signed over a check for 1 cent to me. And I remembered you writing about Noel taking you to task for being obscure. And I remembered the poem he read in public about Cedar getting taken to task by his boss for checking himself out in the mirror behind the counter while shoplifting was taking place. And I remembered Noel's ex, Noelle, who had incredible prescription speed, and Noel said, take 2. And I went to work for 3 days on no sleep. And I remembered the time you told me you didn't like some music because it reminded you of stuff you didn't like. And finally, I understood why Noel was so important to you as a friend all those years ago in San Francisco, where they called you Ed. And then I'm just going to end with this poem called, am I reading too long? That's fucked up. Because I got this long poem I could read in my notebook, but that's all right. This is called The Bleachers. Dead guy 151 accused my droopy eye of being unearned. So there's a story to that. I showed up somewhere at this eye of mine started to like droop a little bit, and I showed up somewhere and this guy was like, I was actually at the poetry project, and he said, "What's up with your eye?" And this guy didn't have a lot of manners. I was like, I don't know, this has happened. He said, "No, there's got to be a reason." He's like, "I don't know, man, Allen Ginsberg had a droopy eye like this." And he said, "Yeah, but Allen earned that." Then that guy died, and I felt really bad, but I was still like, man, he shouldn't have said that to me. It was like the last thing he said to me. The bleachers. Dead guy 151 accused my droopy eye of being unearned. Read a few sentences, then check the phone. Have to charge my laptop to charge the phone. Waiting around for conceptual framework to go on strike. Melly Mel passed out in the right field bleachers. Middle finger raised to diamond, and another August Yankee swoon. Mild swarm of AC raindrips cleansed this local nape. There were other pioneer rappers in the stands most days. I was known by sight only. Minor recognition worked to help avoid becoming numbers in the brotherhood of amputees. The detective does not recommend self-cauterization. Hard to hold a hand in a cane on Spring Street. You find a large black capital A on white poster, you slowly chant fucking A in no particular direction. The espresso martini drinker doesn't like strawberry ice cream. Stranger 2 of 4 at this bench dislikes all curries. Donnie Baseball hit one 10 feet over my head in his heyday. Transformed deletion into rearrangement. The t-shirt most jackets long to wear. To order in this joint, pick an end of the wishbone. Ironic emojis eagerly replace iron hearts. I don't think blonde is your look. I might grow it back in retaliation. Just dye the underhair. I fall asleep every surgery. Old Satch walked from the mountain of First to pick off the sleeping runner in person. This hiatus, dreamt the runner, is my legacy. Thank you. Thank you, Rona. Thank you, Ty and the Rail. And I, after the fact of reading, I dedicate my reading to Yasmin. Yasmin, I wish you were here, and